And I always believe in a person's personal agency to achieve and make things happen. And it's just up to me to give them the confidence to do that. And that confidence comes from me just saying, "Oh, just fucking do it. Go on, have a go."
So welcome to the Who's Elvis Round Here podcast. This is a podcast where we talk to leaders about how they create extraordinary impact by doing things differently and create the conditions for others to do so too. And I'm delighted to be joined with a good mate of mine today, Simon Daglish, who I've played with in lots of different ways. Dags, please introduce yourself.
My name's Simon Daglish, also known as Dags. I'm the Deputy MD of ITV's commercial team here based in London. And I've known Chris for quite some time. He's him and Upping Your Elvis are very, very influential. I'm not trying to say this, it's true. Very influential in the success here at ITV. So it's a joy to be speaking to you on this podcast, genuinely.
And lovely to chat to you. And look, when I first formed this podcast, I was thinking very clearly about the people I wanted to talk with, and you were top of the list. And the reason being is, I have known you for some time, and your swagger, your energy, your belief, the way you do things, you have quite a big reputation for just being who you are. And I think it's because there are certain things you really believe in that make a difference in that business. And that's why I wanted to talk to you today.
Yeah.
To get a bit of a sense for what it is that makes Dags who Dags is and creates that impact. So first off, let's start with a little bit about, to understand you a little bit more. Tell us a story about something that you think really encapsulates the kind of energy and approach of the way you think about work as a leader. Anything at all that shows how Elvis can look in your world.
Yeah, look, it's an easy thing to say, but it's a hard thing to execute. Which is, if you've got a great idea, or a great, or you can see a great opportunity, just do it. Just do it. And I say this to lots of our team when they come up to see me. Dag, should I do this? Should I do that? Unless it's an absolute car crash. At which point you have to be mildly diplomatic. But generally, before someone comes to see me, they've thought it through to quite an extent. And I always believe in a person's personal agency to achieve and make things happen. And it's just up to me to give them the confidence to do that. And that confidence comes from me just saying, "Oh, just fucking do it. Go on, have a go. See where you get to." Because I think, the difference between success and failure, I really believe this, is that those that do and those that don't. And those that don't won't achieve anything, and those that do will. Even if you fail on the way, which, by the way, is all part of the process, because you will fail at some point. To be very open, I was bankrupt age 29. And I'm not bankrupt now.
Phew.
Probably quite the opposite. But you're gonna fail. But when you do fail, the learnings you take from that are far greater than any learning you can do if you haven't done it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I totally get it. And I have a friend of mine who uses that phrase. There are those that do, and there are those that don't. Play with the doers. Because basically, at least you're in the game. You're in the game. And that's what creates the energy and the impact that we're after. So as a leader, one of the things you do then, when people come to you and they're not quite sure what to do, your encouragement is always, just fucking do it.
Yeah, just fucking do it. Literally just do it. And that's not 100% of the time. Of course, some people come to
me sure.
with some of the most stupid ideas you can ever imagine. And I said, don't do it. Like one of the most famous on the learning curves when I said, don't do it. There's a guy, a really nice guy called John Mitchell. And this is going back some maybe 20 years ago. Came to see me, and he worked for me at the time. He said, "Dags, I'm leaving." We were at Capital Radio at the time. He said, "I'm leaving. I'm going to go and do this music streaming thing." Now, that means a lot to people then. 20 years ago meant nothing. I went, music dreaming? What are you doing? Music? What a load of old cock that is. Oh, all right, mate. But if you don't leave us to go and do that, I can make you a group head and everything. Anyway, about a year later, I saw him in Starbucks. He's there in the corner with his little laptop, tapping away, and still nothing going. I said, tell you, John, you should have stayed with us, you see. You would have been a group head by now. Anyway, that streaming service of which he was employee number 3 or number 4 was Spotify.
He's done okay.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, he's a tax exile in Italy and I'm not. You don't always get it right, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is, obviously, you know, that's a beautiful story of what happens when you do just, you know, get stuck in and try things out. And then I guess it's helping them with the relationship of when things don't work out, right? So that, you know, I presume as a leader, when things do go wrong, you are there to kind of tidy things up, make sure they get some learnings, get them to reset, do it again, knowing full well it's a portfolio approach. Not everything works, but if we do enough of them, they will.
Yeah, look, my job there is to give them the confidence to fail.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically it. You know, I am not going to hammer someone if they've done their absolute best to achieve what they wanted to achieve. You know, what annoys me about industry, sometimes you get, particularly in corporations, and I'm not saying that ITV is particularly bad at this, but we do have it here and it's everywhere else, is, oh, well, we tried something similar and that didn't work. And that really annoys me because, okay, it didn't work, but why didn't it work? What are the learnings we can take from that we can apply to make sure that was a kernel of a good idea, or we all agreed was a good idea, is now something that can work? Rather than go, oh my God, well, that didn't work. You know, we mustn't do that sort of thing. I always think that because every idea can work. It's just you've got to get the ingredients right to make that idea come to life and to be successful.
Absolutely, and like the context and the time, everything's changed since that last time. So just being able to tweak it and change it to today's issue and opportunity is what a lot of the skill is. And actually, that's only going to happen if people have got the confidence. So, you know, bigging them up for that and making sure that they have the energy, the drive, and the support to make it happen is a bit of your unlock as a leader. Then,
look, absolutely, 100% support people the whole way. And I really, really, really enjoy doing that. I mean, funny thing is, as you get older, you get braver.
Funny that.
Yeah, it is, and it shouldn't be the other way around because the youth should be really, really brave. But as you get older, you tend to get, oh, let's just do it. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
How that is.
Well, I hear it from a lot of leaders. You know, we've basically been through lots of different contexts, and we actually realise that actually the worst thing that happens is actually never as bad as we think it is because we've done it so many times. So, and actually, there's little to lose at the end of the day. It's better to roll the dice and keep playing, right?
Yeah, I always think slightly, and the analogy there is at night when you think about your problems, they're so enormously massive, and then you wake up in the morning and it's daylight. You go, well, that's not really a problem, is it? Yeah. And sometimes we view issues through our nighttime goggles rather than our daytime goggles, and we see problems. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes we should take a different attitude and see them during the daytime goggles.
Yeah. And I think the sound of things, one of the things that you do very well is you help people have more daytime goggles, right? Yeah. You give them more belief, more confidence to try some things out. And actually that is important in an industry. It's all to do with creativity. It's all to do with possibility and new and different ways of being, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Every single thing that has been successful starts with an idea. Someone somewhere has an idea. And you just have to give light to that idea, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I love that as an ethos. Just fucking do it. We need more leaders doing that. There's no doubt. It would change the planet because some people are so scared about the risk of doing new and different things. But ultimately, that's how humanity has evolved. If we don't have that, we would be stuck back in caves, right? So it's implicit in the way that we deliver our kind of growth and our impact. I'm interested. If there's a story, a business story that kind of encapsulates, who you are, where you've come from, or the impact that you get excited about in the organisation, what story would that be, Dags?
Look, there's so many different little stories. The interesting thing is that when you are, well, there's a few I can tell you here, just taking moments of my life, but I said to you earlier before you came on screen, age 29, I was bankrupt. Uh,
Yeah.
I walked out of my house. I'd been very successful in my early part of my career, built a little business, been very successful, made quite a lot of money, then invested in a new business, and it all went pie-eyed. I mean, spectacularly pie-eyed. And I walked out of my house and I gave the keys to the bailiff, literally gave the keys to the bailiff. The mortgage company had foreclosed on me. And I've never been freer.
Mm.
Never ever been freer because there was no further way to go down, if you like.
Yeah.
Nowhere to live. I was going to go and live on a mate's sofa, and I think that if you view, you could have taken two views as I walked out of that house. Shit, my life is a disaster. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Or, whoa, there's nothing holding me back now.
Sure.
I've got nothing to lose. Here I go, and the rest is sort of slightly history. Then went into the early stages of Classic FM, which we then built up into a big radio station, the biggest in the UK, and sold that to Global in 2009, I think it was. But the thing about problems is that actually they provide opportunities because they force you to either change direction, think differently, or do something that is against the stream, which is where the opportunity exists. So, I'll give you a sort of another one, which is a bit more personal. And people who have children out there will probably empathise with this more than people who don't have children. When your wife or partner becomes pregnant, everybody says to you, "What colour eyes is the baby going to have? What colour hair?" In my case, will it have hair? And one of it, boy or girl, or all these will have your characteristics. The truth is, none of that really matters. We just want a healthy baby. That
Sure.
is the absolute truth. With our second child, we didn't get that. Felix was born at 25 weeks, tiny little fella, fit in your hand, literally less than 2 pounds. Had a brain hemorrhage and brain damage as a result, and was diagnosed with cerebral palsy after 6 months after the birth, which then we didn't know how it was going to manifest itself, whether it was going to be quadriplegia with mental issues. We had no idea, and we wouldn't know for 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
When you're faced with such a fundamental problem like that, it's really, really hard, because the first question you ask yourself is, why me?
Sure.
And it's a pointless question, because
Yeah.
there is no answer to why me. Maybe God knows it, or whoever your God is knows it, but there is no, and it gets you nowhere. And this comes back to the bigger the issue you face, the bigger the response you have to make. The way I got over it, and I was depressed for 2 years, and so was my wife, is that I couldn't help Felix. I couldn't change his life. It was going to be what it was. But maybe I could help other people who were, likely to have premature births. And okay, well, how could I help them? And anyway, by serendipity, I bumped into a chap called Sheldon, Professor Sheldon, who was researching a drug, which, in his words, was trying to keep the little buggers in.
I understand that.
Yeah, they were fully roasted and ready to come out. He needed £1 million to raise this, to test this drug. So I said, "I'll get you £1 million." And by the way, I didn't have £1 million. And
Sure.
With a mate, we got a rowing boat and we rowed across the Irish Sea 360 miles. And then we got the other end, we'd raised 40 grand, that's nowhere near £1 million. And then another mate of mine, then we said, well, I mean, this is just crazy, isn't it? Well, why don't we walk to the South Pole? We can raise £1 million. And this is back in 2004 or 2003, so a long time ago. Anyway, we did manage to go to the South Pole and raised £1 million.
Wow.
By doing that. And that answered that problem. But what that then led on to was some even greater things. You see, once you start down this route, we then, the Afghan war came along, and a lot of mates I was in the army with came back injured, won't go into the whole story, but we founded a charity called Walking the Wounded, and then we walked to the North Pole, then we walked to the South Pole again, then we climbed Everest, and all of that came out of the problem of Felix's premature birth. And that's what I mean by, if you're struck by a big problem, once you can, that's actually a big opportunity for you to get and greater and bigger and make a massive impact, as I hope we did on many soldiers with our charity Walking the Wounded, but and make an impact on life. So if you are facing a shitty problem, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Go for it.
It really is, and the truth is, nearly everybody at some point is facing a shitty problem. That's the reality of life. They might not talk about it, but when you share a bit of yours, they do open up, and you start to understand the challenges that are out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
I was going to say, what a great experience I ended up having.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the challenges and the difficulties are often what shape who we become, as long as we use them as a way to kind of energize us, focus us, use our talents on something that has more meaning.
Yes, completely. Yeah. And it comes down to personal agency. That's what I try to say to everybody. You are so the master of your own destiny.
Yeah.
It's not somebody else that's going to determine. Yes, they'll buffer you or push you, or they'll, you'll have to manipulate you around them. But ultimately, you are the driver of your own success. And you don't need to sort of stab people to get to the top or do anything else. But ultimately, how you react and what you do to the situations around you will drive your success. But if you always adopt a positive attitude, and I know you talk about this an awful lot, and without being too nice to you because you're on this podcast, you taught all my team the same thing, have this positive energy, and the success that we've seen since then is manifest. ITV's been a tremendous success, since we took over, whenever it was in 2010. And, a lot of that is down to positive energy, which isn't always easy, but it is the key ingredient.
Well, as you know, I think it's a superpower because, we all hit roadblocks, we all have bumps in the road, we all have difficulties and challenges. And at that point, you have a choice. You can either go, poor me, this isn't fair, or you can use it as a motivation to overcome it and become stronger and better as a result. And that only comes, I think, if you're positive. So that whole kind of mental construct is, I think, vital in navigating the world in which we live, especially when there are so many challenges and so many changes and so many difficulties coming our way, because the world is as dynamic as it is, right? So you need that positivity. And then I think it's being aware that that's happening, it's being purposeful and making that choice, and then having the resilience, I think, and the confidence to dig again and again if it doesn't work, because sometimes it doesn't, right? You do a reset and you go, right, I'm through it now, and then you get hit by another bus, right?
Completely. Yeah, well, absolutely. After we sold GCAT to Global, I was then going to go and start Channel 4, start their radio company, and I'd resigned, obviously left Global, and was on gardening leave before I joined there, and then the financial crash happened, and Channel 4 rightly said, look, we can't afford to take you on. And I'm in the middle of the biggest financial downturn with 2 young children, a wife, a mortgage, enough money to last me 6 months, but probably not much more, and no job. Flipping heck. And we were I remember again, oh God, we were 3 months off having to hand the keys back again. I was thinking,
it's becoming a theme.
No. So it's not just one big thunderbus that's going to hit you. It's going to be a few.
And this is why I think it's so important for leaders to create a culture in teams where everyone is behaving in that way, because it's actually one of those things that becomes quite infectious. If everyone just fucking does it, and everyone believes we pick ourselves up and we go again, the supportive nature of that culture is actually what brings success. It's quite hard to do on your own.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The culture, I think we sometimes forget the importance of culture, because it is culture that is the invisible thread of success that combines all the different units within a company. I'm talking about units as in abilities, attitudes, people, diversity, all the things come together, but it's those invisible, those lines that supportive and helpful and communication and sharing that is so really, really, really important. And that has to be done with a sense of trust.
Sure.
You know, at the core of that, there must be trust between the individuals. You know, not trust as in keeping secrets, but trust in, I know you got my back, mate.
Yeah. Which is important, because if you're going to just fucking do it, you need to know you've got people in your camp, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the funny thing is, it's infectious. You know, a bit like negativity is infectious, so is positivity, as you rightly point out. You know, if you see one person doing something and they make a success of it, it makes other people sit around going, okay, maybe I can do a bit more. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that. And then you get a sort of a positive spiral of all people wanting to achieve things. At that point, actually, quietly, you need to be a little bit, everybody calm down. Everything, you know, let's just try and pick the winners.
Yeah. It's a nice problem to have, though. I like that.
Nice problem to have.
Well, Dax, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I always like the way that you come at these things. I think the simplicity of just helping people just fucking do it, to ride out those bumps, to create more magic by just rolling the dice each time, is what we need more in this world. And your stories were fantastic. Really, really enjoyed them. And looking forward to seeing what's next from Simon Daglish.
I'm not really sure. Maybe drink beer, eat pizza, and watch telly, but we'll wait and see.
Let's see. Go well, Dags.
All right. Cheers. Thank you very much.